Hey, Erica, Philip. Simon, I see the numbers going up. I just want to tell everyone, welcome to the webinar. We're going to get started in just about a minute. We're going to let everyone settle in. I'm sure some people are having dinner and joining us. Yeah, just make sure what you see on the screen is the welcome to the webinar display. And make sure your sound is on. We're going to have a video that we're going to show you all later. And so we'll get started soon.
Okay, we have 6:05 and let's get it started. Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar. Today we're going to be talking about contracts. I'm going to be introducing myself in a few seconds, but I just want to talk to you about Zoom. Maybe around this time, a lot of people know how to use Zoom, but if you haven't used Zoom a lot lately, we're going to be using the Q&A for questions related to the topic that we're going to be talking today. So use the Q&A for that. And if you have any technical issues during this call, please put your question in the chat box. Also, we're going to be using the feature to raise your hand. We're going to be asking for your input during this webinar. We love hearing your input, so we're going to be asking you a few questions later on. Also, we're going to be sharing a video with you. So hopefully, I'm sure you can hear me now, but you'll be also hearing a video that we have prepared for you. In the meantime, please, in the chat box, we would like to know your name, what is the name of your program, and where are you, and where your program is located. We know we have a lot of providers from Connecticut. We have a lot of providers from New York. So please put the name of the location. It's so important so we know where you connecting from. So let's start. Again, my name is Simon. I'm a business coach in Olarkin. And today I have my co-workers helping me in this webinar. We have Joel. He said hi to you a few moments ago. Also, we have Rosemary, another business coach. And they have helped me with build up this webinar today. Also, we have our Chief Operating Officer, which is Erica Phillips. I think I can see you, Erica. And I don't know, Erica, do you want to say some words right now in the beginning of the webinar?
Hi, Simon. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to say a few words. Welcome. Good evening, everybody. I'm great to connect with you virtually, even if we can't be together. So we're giving everybody virtual hugs. And really thank you for joining us today. It's so exciting to have a session with people from all our kin networks, and also to see family child care educators from other networks too. And so we're really excited to have everybody here and to learn together. We know that you have lots of things to do with your time, and we're honored that you would choose to spend an hour and a half of it with us. And so we promise we will make it worthwhile. One thing I wanted to point out is that this is our third and actually a series of 4 workshops that All Our Kin's business team has been offering over the summer. And the first 2, one was on record keeping, one was on the PPP loan and the other financial assistance loans, and another one on record keeping. And so if you want a copy of those, please reach out to one of the business coaches who can send a recording for that. And there's this workshop today that is on family child care contracts, and then there's another one on risk management. So we hope that you learn throughout all of these series. But thank you, Simon. Thank you, Rosemary and Joel, for putting this together.
Great. Thank you so much, Erica, for taking the time. And again, I want to thank all of the participants here, making some space today to join us in this call. So let's start with the agenda, what we're going to be talking today. Again, we're going to be going over the contracts in family childcare business, and we're going to see why do I need a contract? You know, why it's so important to have a contract in your program. We're going to be going over the essential terms of a contract. Also, there are other terms that are important in a contract. We're going to be going over these terms as well. Also, we're going to be talking about communicating your contract, right? Communicating your contract to your parents, to your families. And then we're going to have a summary. And in between, we're going to have activities. We're going to be asking you to for some feedback. And also, we're going to, like I said before, we're going to be sharing a video where you can hear from other providers their input about family childcare contract. So let me start by talking about the importance, like why do I need a contract, right? So in the contract, it can cover different areas and it can help you to build up your business. But in a contract, we see that it's an important tool, right? It's an important tool that you use with your customers about time and money, right? So anything related with time and money, it goes into your contract. And because of that reason that it has to do with money, it's a legal enforceable document, right? And it's important for you to have the signature of your clients, or in this case, the parents, right? Or a family. If you have both parents, you want them to be signing this contract. Also, the contract will help you manage risk, right? So, and it will protect your work in any situation related to your business. And at the end, it's so important for you to communicate all of these terms of your contract to your parents. So it's a very important communication tool where you can tell your parents what are your terms, right? In writing, of course. And also, it's very important that you go over this document when you start with a new family, right? You want to let them know what are your terms, or in a way, the rules of your business. So let's see why it's a legal enforceable document. So in a contract, you usually want to have the name of all parties, right? Let's say if you have a mom and a dad, so you want to have both names in your contract, right? Including yourself, right? Because all of these people are agreeing on this document. And at the same time, you want to have them sign, right? You want the dad to sign the contract. You want the mom to sign the contract, and also you want to sign the contract, because at the end of the day, you are all agreeing to follow this agreement. Also, it's important for you to have the start and end date, so the parent is aware of when is this contract valid in a way. And again, going back to the who is responsible, right? That's why you want to put like the first name. I'm sorry, you want to put like the name of the dad, the name of the mom, and also your name, so everyone is aware who's following this agreement. Usually in a contract, like I said before, you talk about time and money, right? There's another tool that you use to communicate with your parents, and usually that's the policy handbook or the parent handbook, right? Usually we advise providers to divide these documents into two separate documents, so you don't get confused and you don't confuse your parents. And also because a contract, like I said, well, like the slide says, it's a legal enforceable document. So since we're talking about how the a contract is formed and what are the parts of it. We're going to be going about some essential parts of a contract, so you have a better understanding. What are these terms? What do the terms look like? And some examples for you if you don't have one yet. You can use this language that we're going to be showing you right now. And for that, I'm going to have Joel going over all these essential terms of a contract. Take it away, Joel.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simon. I'm actually really excited here because I'm looking over into the chat and I see a lot of people chatting, welcoming, and seeing people from all over, from like New York and all around Connecticut. So welcome to everyone and thank you so much for being here. Just as Simon just mentioned, there's definitely some essential terms of a contract that you should have just to make sure that you're protected and to make sure that everything is running as smooth as possible, right? We use contracts to protect ourselves, but also protect our parents' interests as well. So there's different parts. As you can see here, there's parties to a contract, and we're going to go into a little bit more depth into each one in just a moment. But we have parties to contract. We have agreed upon hours of care and fees. You want to have those in there. You want to have your methods of payment, right? Do you accept checks? Do you accept, what type of payment do you accept? Are there overtime fees, right? If the child's staying over the time, are you charging a different fee? Changes in fee. How often do you change your fees? You want to make sure you have that in your contract. Then you also have your deposit. I get a lot of questions about deposits, and we're going to get into that in just a moment again. And then finally, you want to have some type of termination procedure. Are parents able to just walk away? Are parents able to give you notice? What does that look like? And so if you can click on to parties to contract, we'll get started with that. So parties to contract, right? This is just a sample of what we would have in our contract to kind of just address who is part of this contract, right? You have this contract is between blank, which is where you want to put in your parents' information, their names, and yourself, right? And the provider's name or the name of the business. You also want to have the child's name and their date of birth. Now, there's a few things that I want to talk about here, right? Should you include both parents' name? Absolutely, right? You want to have both parents sign a contract. And why is that? Because it allows you to demand for the payment if one parent does not pay. Let's say mom is responsible for making the payment every Friday. That Friday, no payment has arrived. You can reach out to dad and explain the payment was received and that they're also on the contract and actually, legally enforced to be able to make that payment. Excuse me. Right? Then you want to have the child's name and date of birth so that you have the specifics of which child you are taking care of. There's different, parents might have different children. And so it is recommended that you have a contract for each child, especially if someone else is paying. Let's say grandma's paying for one child and the father's paying for a different child. You want to have different contracts on that, right? With the different, with the names of the children and the date of birth. However, if one person is paying, you could have, your child's name and date of birth all together. You'll have just a level B with the child's name and date of birth. It also helps you if there's any, overtime between a specific child and a different one. So you might have one of your children who is there from a certain time because they're in school, right, for before or after care. And then you have a different, or you have another child that's in there all day long. So, these are just some parts that you want to make sure that everyone is aware of what parties are involved in this contract, starting with your name as the parents and yourself as the providers as well, right? So Simon, if you can go on to the next one, if you can go to the main screen, perfect. And we're going to talk a little bit about agreed upon hours of care and fees. If you can click on that for me.
Oops.
Well, wrong one. There we go.
There you go.
Perfect. You want to make this very clear. And this is what I was talking about a little while ago, is that if you have, let's say, one child who's there from before and after care, then those agreed upon hours of care are going to be completely different than the other child that you're going to be taking care of from the same parent. So in that case, you would want to devise two different contracts, right? So you can specify, the hours specifically. You want to have every single day there, even if you're not open, because you might, in the future, you might make an exception and say, okay, you know what, I can take care of this child on a Saturday. And so you have that available and you don't have to redo your contracts. But it allows you, it really allows you to be very clear in saying that you're going to be taking care of the child from X amount of time to X amount of time. And anything over than that, we'll get into the overtime fees in just a moment, but it's considered overtime. And that really keeps things very clear. If you're a provider who offers per diem care, you might not need this section, right? Because it's kind of like a drop-in kind of thing. But you might want to have some sort of understanding and being able to communicate that to the parents, that that's what exactly it is. You can charge overtime if families don't respect your agreed upon hours. And again, we're going to have some sample contract piece to that in just a moment. But if you can go to the main section again, Simon. Perfect. Methods of payment. Well, we have here some terms of payment, right? Terms of payment and methods of payment are going to be kind of in the same section, right? So you're going to have, you want to specify how many hours are you providing care for? Is it a certain amount of hours? Is it a certain amount, which is what we just spoke about. But when we talk about terms of payment, you want to look at how much are you charging, and is that on an hourly basis, a weekly basis, or on a monthly basis? Most providers that I know charge on a weekly basis, right? And then you want to specify when is that payment due? Is it paid? We always recommend that payment is paid in advance of care. So if you're providing care for the entire week, then you should charge your fee. Let's say your week starts on Monday, then you should start on Monday, right? You receive your payment before you offer the care. It's highly recommended that payments are collected in advance, right? We pay in advance for most services. If you really think about it, we pay for rent in advance. We pay for the gym in advance. There's so many different things we pay in advance. Childcare should be no different. You want to make sure that yourself as a provider are protecting the income that's coming into your business. You know that if there's no payment that week coming in on that Monday, that you have the ability to refuse service for that week until that payment is made. You have expenses during the week, right? So you need that available cash flow to come in so that you can use it, let's say for spending money on food or art supplies or whatever you need to continue operating that week. If the child is absent, you already have the full fee. So there's no conflict. So if you charge money on Monday and the child is out on Thursday, you can explain to the parent that you are charging for that child's slot or position in your daycare, okay? So that allows you to be very, I can't stress this enough, you should communicate as best as possible with your parents, especially when we talk about a contract and terms. Simon, can we go over to overtime fees, please? Awesome. Thank you. So overtime fees. I get a lot of questions on this too, because it's like, what is the suitable amount of money to charge as an overtime fee? First let's talk about why we need this in our contracts. Overtime fees are there to essentially pay for your available extra time, right? You set yourself amount of time for work, right? You say you're open from 9 to 5 or 6:30 in the morning till 5 p.m. And then you have a parent who comes in, maybe they come in at 6:30 at night, right? You just took away time of you spending with your family or any other errands that you had planned. Or I've heard this before. I take care of a child and I had a doctor's appointment at 3 o'clock. The parent didn't show up till 4. I had to cancel it and they charged me a fee, right, for the cancellation. So you are essentially compensating yourself for that time that you're still providing service, right? And that might be if the parent gives you notice in advance and says, hey, I have a meeting at work on this day, I'm going to be, an hour late, right? You can have an agreed upon advance notice rate. As you can see there on the screen, it says with advance notice by the parent and approval by the provider, X amount of dollars per minute or per hour will be charged, right? So you can say, okay, if you give me notice, I appreciate that. I can plan my day more accordingly. So I'm only going to charge you an extra $20 per hour, right? If the next bullet, you'll see that it says with no advance notice. Now, this is the parent who just consistently may be late or just doesn't feel like they have to be on the, going based off the schedule, and they feel that they can come anytime to pick up their children. Then this is where you want to up that amount to give an incentive for the parents to continue to pick up their child on time, right? With no advance notice, that's where you can say, okay, no advance notice, I'm charging $40 per hour, because you're just, I'm expecting you to be here at 5 and you're not here at 5. So I have to charge a little bit more because now I can't plan my day accordingly, right? Can we go on to the next one? Yes, changes in fees, right? Changes in fees is another element you want to have in your contract, because you should be reviewing what your income is and what your expenses are in your business. You want to make sure that you're profitable and that you stay profitable, right? And if you make any improvements to your property or the daycare in itself, you want to make sure that if it's benefiting the business, that you are incorporating it into it, right? Because the business is benefiting from it. So you want to, we recommend to raise fees, right? Over time, this could be on an annual basis. I've seen, every 6 months there's an evaluation on their business. Some family childcare providers feel that 6 months is better. Whatever you decide is completely up to you. You are the boss in your business. So what we're essentially saying is you should have this under to communicate to the parents that every year you may review your business model and that you may have to change these fees and they may go up, right? You're just communicating that in advance. We have here on the contract, childcare fees will be reviewed annually and you will be notified of any changes in advance. It doesn't mean like, the parent's gonna come in and overnight the fees are gonna go up, right? So just having this one sentence in there just gives you the protection to be able to say, it's in the contract that my fees may change over time. And so I'll give you advance notice on that. All right, Simon, can we hit the next one? Perfect. So deposits. Deposits are always, I get a lot of questions on deposits. And quite frankly, I hear that's where most providers will have some trouble, right? Because some parents may not have the money for a deposit. Deposits, become the sticky area when a parent decides to take their child out of your program, right? And now you have to have that hard conversation of, do you get to keep the deposit? Are they going to honor that to be able to get it back or not? So here's some sample language that we have. You want to, upon signing this contract, X amount of dollars is due to the provider, and this deposit will cover the last blank amount of days or weeks of the child. We always recommend, 2 weeks is good to have on reserves as a deposit, right? Because if you think about it, if your termination, right, if you say, I need you to give me 2 weeks notice if you're going to take your child out of my program, at that point, you have 2 weeks of reserves where when the day that they tell you, hey, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice, then you have already collected the last 2 weeks. So you're covered. You don't have to fear that they're going to just not come back the following day and then you're not going to receive any income for those last 2 weeks, because we've seen it, right? As family child care providers, and I'm sure most of you have had that one parent who just, completely disappears the next day and they're gone. You never hear from them again. You try calling them and you let them know that you have a contract and that they should be paying you, and they just don't, right? But that's where the deposit comes in as well, because if you have that and that does happen where they just disappear, then you have that money in reserves, whether you provide a service or not, right? So you want to make sure that your deposit information is clear, depending on what you have, right? Is that going to cover a certain amount of days, weeks, and how much of that? Here's just some creativeness to deposits, is that some parents don't have all the money to bring their child into your program. So in deposits, and if you create some type of plan for them, then you want to make sure that's in your contract as well. Let's say you make an agreement. Let's say your fee is $600, right, for a deposit, but you want to accept the child, but they don't have the $600 deposit. If you tell them, okay, how about every month for the next 6 months, you give me $100 extra on top of your fee to make sure that we kind of put together that deposit reserves, then you want to make sure you write that in there. Parent will pay, $100 a month for 6 months until the deposit is fully paid. You want to make sure that the communication between the parents and yourself are as clear as possible, and it's in writing, as Simon mentioned earlier, to make sure it's legally enforceable, okay? And if you handwrite that into a contract, make sure you have them initial that. You don't want them to say, like, later on, you added that comment and that wasn't true, right? So just have them initial that just so that you're safe. We talked a lot about a ton of different essential terms, right? And so there's one more that is around termination. Actually, Simon, if you can go to the main menu, that'd be great. Perfect. So termination procedures. Termination procedures is something where we
having issues with termination procedures.
Not a problem. I'm sure I can manage with what I know.
Perfect, thank you.
So with termination procedures, you want to be, again, as I've mentioned throughout all this, and one of the comments that I just want to make sure you all walk away with is that a contract is really here to make everything black and white and very clear so that there's no confusion whenever a dispute happens, right? So when it comes to termination, have those clear procedures in writing. So if you're saying, and by termination procedures, I mean, I want to remove my child from your program, what do I need to do, right? So you should have something written out that kind of explains, first you should reach out to me, the family child care provider, and explain, that you will be taking out your child from the program. And you want to be very specific and say, how much time do they have for that? As I mentioned before, do they have 2 weeks notice? Do they have to give you 30 days notice? What does that look like? Termination, you want to give yourself some wiggle room, because when that child leaves, you don't want to be cutting it too close where you have to scramble to find another child to fill that slot to continue that cash flow, which is why we recommend 2 weeks or more, because that way it gives you plenty of time that if you have 2 weeks, you know that this child is leaving in 2 weeks, you have enough time to fill that slot with another child, right? Again, going back, you want to make sure that everything is clear as possible. So having a clear termination procedure by saying, notify the provider within 2 weeks to 30 days, be very clear, whatever that range is that you decide for your business, and explain that the last 2 weeks, if the last 2 weeks of that, if you're requiring 2 weeks of notice, then their deposit will cover those last 2 weeks. Just making that very clear. All right. I'm going to pass it along to Simon because we have a really fun activity that we're going to do next. And we'll be able to actually hear some voices from all of you. So pass it along to Simon.
Great. Let me go back. Thank you so much, Earl, for all of that explanation about all the terms that we have listed here on the presentation. And I've been reading the chat box while you've been talking. Yep. And we heard, I've been reading that many providers are wondering if we're gonna get the slides. So we're gonna be emailing you the slides after the presentation. Also, we're gonna be sending you the recording of this presentation if you wanna go back and look at the terms and maybe update your contract, right? Your contract language, or maybe there's something that there's a term that you don't have that you've been thinking that, man, like I want to add this to my contract now, but I don't know how to put it on writing. I don't know how to put it on my contract. Well, I hope this can help you. We hope this could help you to actually come up with the language and add it on to your contract, right? So in this activity that we have created, I would like you to go over, so we have this chart, right? So we have this chart, and in this chart, there are some terms that Joel has gone over with a lot of details, right? But maybe some of you already have these terms, and maybe you don't, and some of them you don't have them yet, right? So maybe I want you to take like a couple of minutes, right? We're gonna take like probably like 3 or 4 minutes or so. So I want you to go over this chart, and maybe there is a term, right? A closure that you have in your contract, and you
Excuse me,
actually,
Simon.
yes.
I'm reading the chat box here, and it's saying that the screen is very blurry, which could just mean something on your end. So maybe if you could just unshare your screen and try sharing it again, just see if that fixes it, because it
Sure,
also looks
sure.
blurry on my end. If
Okay, no
not, I can
problem.
share my screen and see if that'll work too.
Okay, let me stop that. Thank you for, okay. Maybe you want to share it just in case. Maybe I could be having some technical issues. Okay, you should have access now to share the screen. Okay. I think okay, I think I can see that you are sharing the screen. Sorry, I apologize about that. It could be the my internet that is having some technical issues right in the middle of it. It happens. So like I was saying before a moment ago, so there are some terms on this chart that you have been using for the past, for the past few years in your program, and you actually like the language that you have. And this is a great opportunity for you to share what you have, what you have been using, or what you have updated on your contract with other providers. Because maybe some providers, they haven't thought about it, and they would like to hear from others how their program has changed since they have added one of these terms. For instance, Joel was talking about the parties to contract, right? Maybe at the moment you don't have this listed on your contract, but there's another provider that has this this closure or this term on the on the contract at the moment. And I want to see if someone can, go over all these terms, and if you want to select one of these closures and you want to share what you have come up with, like what language, how you put it on your contract, and how has been working since you added this term to your contract. Or maybe you don't have it yet and you want to like say, I like this, I like this, I like this term, and I would like to share it. And you want to come up with some type of term right here. You can raise your hand. You can use the feature to raise your hand here, and you can you can share. We can open up the mic for you so you can share with all of us. Or you can, in the chat box, you can actually type in what would you like, what's the language that you're using for your contract. Okay, there it is. I don't know, Joel, if you see anyone who would like to share. I think we have do we see any provider that would like to share about any of these terms?
It looks like Sonia Nunez put her hand up.
Great. Let's see if we can open up the mic for her.
What did I tell you earlier when I was eating?
Hi, Sonia. Do you want to? Hi. Do you want to share with us, or have you picked any of these terms in the chart, and you want to probably share with us the language that you've been using, or maybe any other providers who would like to share with us? I don't know if I can hear Sonia at the moment. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Sonia. Can you hear me? I think we were able to hear you for a few seconds. I think we lost. Oh, there it is.
I prefer Spanish.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Sonia. um, also, you can type in if you would like to type in your the language that you have used on your contract, or we have any other provider that would like to share what language or what term you have on your contract, and you've been successful with this new term, or a new term that you have implemented on your contract. I think we have another one, right?
Yeah, we have Carmela. I'm gonna unmute her, or asking her to unmute. There we go. Hey, Carmela.
Hi there, how are you? Thank you for doing this for us.
No problem.
I wanted to fill you in on the late fees. What I've done is right under my operations hours, I have stated that a late fee will be charged $1 per minute. And also late fee payment will be $25 for each day that the payment is late. So I posted it right under my hours of operation, so it's all together with that.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you want to give that enticement, or
Right.
you wanna make sure that you're giving them a reason not to
And
come
I
late.
think $1 per minute, it's nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, I've had my contract since my first day of operation. I would not operate daycare without a contract. There's too much liability.
Oh, I think we lost you, Carmela. I
Oh.
think you have mute yourself.
Not doable without a contract.
Yeah, yeah.
My opinion.
And do you find that, like, that is, has it been easier when you have conversations with your parents? When you
Yes,
have that
because
communication?
also on my contracts, there is all my paid holidays. There is my vacation for the year. Like everything is posted. I give them my new contract every year, right when they come back from New Year's Day. So on the 2nd of January, they receive my new contract, and it has all the new policies for the year. If my payment has gone up, which it hasn't, I'm sorry to say, for the past 5 years. It's just that economy for everybody out there. And so they like that, at the beginning of January, they already have when my vacation will be for July, let's say, and they can ask their boss accordingly. So that's all in my contract.
I love that. I love that. And you brought up a great point that, you include in there the vacation time. And I looked over earlier onto the chat, and I see that Gilda also mentioned that she loves the fact that she included 3 paid sick days in her contract, so the parents know about that.
Good for you. I don't have those, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, and hey, that you're, this is the beauty of this, right? You are running your own business, but you already seem that you raise your prices every year, which is good because you're keeping up with the demand of inflation.
Not every year. It's been 5 years. I've not.
Oh, it's been 5 years. Okay.
Yeah, every year I do a new contract for the new vacation, the paid days, for the holidays, stuff like that. But yeah, no. Another thing I wanted to point out, it's good that you tell all the daycare providers that both parents have to sign the contract, because they might be together when they start, daycare with you, but then they might divorce within 2 years, and then you have a problem.
Oh yeah.
So I've been through that too.
Yeah, I say wherever the money's coming in, right? So even if maybe grandma or grandpa are paying for it. They should be on the contract too, right? Whoever is going to be liable for that dollar figure at the end of the day should be on.
Exactly, exactly.
So
But that's all I have. Thank you.
thank you so much, Carmela, for all your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carmela. We appreciate your input. Do we have any other provider who would like to? I think
we do. We have Maria Lopez. I'm going to ask Maria Lopez to unmute. There we go. Let's see. Hey, Maria.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I do the same, like the same one, but the difference is I charge in my contract, I charge the parents the first 15 minutes, I don't charge anything. And then $10 for each 10 minutes. And I put 3 days a year for my personal day. I never take it, but I put in the contract because I have somebody help me in the daycare. But I put the 3 day off because that day protect me when I need to go to the medical hospital appointment or something like that. And nothing. We try to do the best clear as possible in the contract.
Oh, that's wonderful. You have those elements, right? You have your time off that you need, right? You're running a business, right? But at the end of the day, you're not like a robot. You're not a computer. You need your time off. And I guess what we're seeing here too is that even if people have different, everyone should have a contract, but as you can hear, everyone has a little something different. You might have 3 days off of sick time. Someone might have a week of vacation, right? So you're making those decisions, but the key is to make sure that you're keeping things as clear as possible so that when you present that contract, you're good, right? You don't have any confusion. It's black and white, it's on paper, everyone signs off on it.
Exactly. Also, I do the both in English and in Spanish. This depend the what language the people wanting.
That's wonderful. Because I hear that all the time. Should I have an English contract only, or should I have a Spanish contract, or like should I have both? And I always say, you are the deciding factor in your business, but I always say that the purpose of the contract again is to keep things very clear. And if someone doesn't speak English, then there's going to be a lot of confusion if you have them sign an English contract, right? They're going to read it and they're going to, a Spanish contract will make things a little clearer for them. Then, hey, why not use that? But I totally understand. It's great that you have both.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very, very important. I think we have like a couple more providers that they have raised their hand, and maybe we can open up the mic for them, Joe.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm gonna unmute Elizabeth, or allowed to talk. Elizabeth Olivo?
Yes.
Hey there.
Hi, everyone. Well, I really have a question. Something like is example, when we have the key from subsided from the city, example, and I never know like my vacation to those kids, the city don't pay us that. So because we have to report when I close my program, when I go away. So we cannot report those kids when we are on vacation. So we don't get paid for the city, but we get paid for the parents. They are paying cash. So I don't know how to play with that in my contract, and I don't know how to do it because I don't know if I can get paid for that when I'm close to the city. I don't know. I just have a question right now.
Simon, do you have any input on that? I have an
So,
idea, but could you
I
go
mean,
first?
if you want to go ahead, but Elizabeth, so you want to know if how do you put the fact that if you're going to be taking some time off and you want the subsidy program to keep paying you for the time that you're going away?
Well, we're talking about contracts, right? So like I would just make sure, Elizabeth, that you have that in your contract, the importance of like, making sure that it's in there that you do take a certain amount of vacation, which should be paid, right? And then I would just say have that conversation with whatever the subsidy program is, just to let them know that maybe you'd be surprised. They might just tell you, okay, that's fine. We will pay you because that's what we signed in the contract. So just mark the children like they're there during that time. I don't know. You would have to ask that city subsidy program to clarify on that. But we can talk a little bit more after the webinar, more one-on-one if you'd like, and we can dig a little
Because
deeper
that's
into it.
that's what happened. And like when we get paid for the city or we get paid for the agency, example, now I don't have agency. I get paid for the city. You can have this on your contract, but the parent's not going to pay you. They don't have no money.
Mhm.
So I know we have to do it, but it's happened here in New York that you don't get paid for that. So that time we lost money, you know,
Got
even
it.
if we have an in our contract, we don't get paid for that.
Yeah,
Well, go ahead, Simon.
I would recommend to like probably like look into the guidelines of the subsidy program in New York and see um, what they can cover, right? Because it can be like different like in different states, you know. But yeah, we can handle your question. We can contact you after the webinar and see what would be the best way to handle this situation when you're trying to get paid for the time that you are taking off. And I think we have her named, right, Joel?
Yep, I have it. Yes, I have it here saved. I wrote it down.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
Elizabeth, you'll be hearing from us, and you'll probably hear from Rosemary only because I hear you're in New York and Rosemary is in the Bronx. She might be able to know maybe what type of subsidy program that is down there. Okay. Well, I think you muted yourself. Okay. All right. We have Simon. Do we have some more time, or do we have to get going?
I think we have time for like one more. If there's one more provider.
Okay.
Um,
we have Rosa Munoz who had her hand up. I'm just gonna ask her to unmute herself. Hello, Rosa.
Hi, hello everyone.
Hello.
Yes, my contract, basically I have most of the things that you guys says in the beginning.
Mhm.
And when this pandemic started, I added that whether or not the child didn't assist in the program, just because the parent decided to stay home, I was still supposed to get paid. And also I have 2 days of um, development, professional development days. We have 2 days. And this is in the city of Waterbury. Whoever is part of the early Head Start, we have two professional development days that we added to the contract. Also, I have sick days, personal days, and vacations, and I had no problem getting paid for vacation through the care advocate or DCF. I work mostly with DCF children, and I made the social worker sign the contract. That's very important that the social worker sign the contract when you taking a DCF child in your care, because otherwise you will not get paid from DCF. But once you have the social worker sign it and agree to everything that is in there, they pay you.
Great. Thank you so much, Rosa, for bringing that up. Actually, we had a question about DCF in the which is the here in the state of Connecticut, right? And a provider was asking, how do you handle a situation like this when it has to do with a subsidy program and that is DCF, and like actually you brought up the answer, you know, like how you actually
Yeah, it
did it.
was me who asked that question. So or the provider to see if they come up with something. But yes, before it was kind of hard before the pandemic. There
Right.
was two children that I didn't get paid because the foster mom decided to keep them home. I
Mhm.
was still open. I mean, but this year they did not pay completely for the time. They only paid till the last day that they were here uh, for the pandemic. But the other ones who DCF, who the social worker signed the contract, they did pay. So you know, it's kind of it was kind of tricky in there. But
Right.
now what I do is I make uh, the DCF workers sign the contract.
Right. And that's so important, right? Because they're like at the end of the day, um, they are agreeing to your terms, so they will need to
Yes.
follow because you know it's their name, their signature, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously they're representing an entity, right? Like
Right.
DCF in the state of Connecticut.
I mean, it takes a long time, but they do pay. You have to
Right.
be
Yeah.
nagging them to pay.
Correct. Yeah, we've
But
been hearing a
you do
lot.
get paid.
Yes.
You do get paid eventually.
It takes. Yeah. It takes time. It takes time. It's not like a
They
parent.
got better though. They got a little better.
Yes, we getting yes, we getting like feedback from providers that they're being getting better, and with other subsidy programs that there are in the state of Connecticut, they're also like catching up with the payments. But that's important that you bring in this terms, right? And actually on the next slide, Joe, actually do we have, and thank you so much, Rosa, for actually sharing your input and how has a how your program has been running during all this time. Actually, Joe, I think we have one last person, and I would like to take that last provider. I think it's Caroline, and then we'll stop there.
Yeah, sounds good. So
Okay.
Carolyn,
if you would like to share.
Let's see. Caroline?
I don't know
While
if
we're
she's
waiting for Caroline, I just saw the question from Vonda, and I wondered if we wanted to answer that. She asked, does anyone charge registration fee plus 2 weeks advance that goes to the final 2 weeks?
I can answer that. Actually, I've seen providers that they done that. I mean, it depends how they wanna charge this, right? Like they do the deposit, right? Like what Joe was explaining a few minutes ago. The deposit, like why it's so important. And there's a registration fee, and the way they can back up the registration fee is by saying, well, it's like an initiation fee, right? In the program, like I had a provider telling me that, well, I charge this fee because I buy supplies, I buy like a sweater for the child and they put their logo on the sweater for this child, and they buy like extra supplies in the program for this particular child, right? That is started in the program. So I seen it. I don't know about the other coaches if they seen something like this around your sites, and I, if you Joe want to share.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've heard of the deposit being charged as well as like an application or like initiation fee for that same exact reason. There's some expenses that you invest in the child before they even come on, whether it's extra supplies you have to buy because now you have, another child, or you go and buy more food or whatever the case may be, and it kind of helps a little bit. It also gives you that flexibility of discount, right? So like you might have, that could be enticing when you do your marketing where you can say, okay, for this week, I'm not charging any application or initiation fees, just your deposit. So, Yeah, I've seen it in some creative ways, but yes, I've seen it get done.
Great.
And I don't think we got through with Caroline.
Yeah,
So Caroline, if you can hear us, if you want to throw something in the chat box, feel free, or just raise your hand and we'll try to get to you. But we're gonna move along.
yeah, let's move along. We're gonna be asking more questions to the providers in a few. Okay, so we've been like hearing a lot of ways how providers can take care of different situations in the programs, and now there are other closures that you can add to your program, right? So by no means you're limited to the contract terms that we talked about today, right? Like this is not like these are the contracts and you must use this and you cannot add more. You can always add more contract terms related to time and money, right? And you're welcome to do that. Anything related to time and money will need to go to your contract, and any other policy that you want the parents to follow that will probably go into your policy handbook or your parent handbook, right? Like on the manual. So I just want to give you some examples of some closures that you can add, right? For example, some providers add in a time term about snow days, right? Whether they are paid or not, correct? Or how drop-in and care should be handled in terms of time and payment. And I just want to make a pause about the snow days, right? Like sometimes you're gonna be open, right? Like it's snowing, but you're open, and you want there are parents that actually they don't want to pay you, but you're open. So that means like you'll be getting ready for that day, and maybe it started to snow. It's not a lot, and then the parent decided that they don't want to go to work, and because of that reason, they don't want to bring their child, right? And you don't get paid. So you can add a snow policy day in your contract to cover that. Also, many providers have decided to add a term about payment policies, right? If our children are kept at home during a pandemic, you can find more, right? Like how the provider before was like explaining how she like that situation was a little tricky, and if you want to add this policy, right, like this new policy about pandemic that you want to get paid during the pandemic, you can do that, but keep in mind that by adding this new term, you will have to the parent will have to sign this new term, right? They have to agree to this new closure or term that you're going to add to your contract, right? Let's say at the moment you have reopened, right? And maybe this is the moment where you can redesign your contract and add new terms to it, right? And this is the time to revise the contract and communicate to the parent through your contract that you have added a new term, whether you want to get paid or not, right? That's up to you. But this is what you have, and if the parent wants to like continue in your program, they will have to like sign the contract and agree, right, to your new term, whether if it's about pandemic or not. Also, we are going to be sharing a link about a lawyer that is like the guru of the family childcare business, Tom Copeland, and this article he has information or language, right? Language that you can tailor it to you, right? You probably want to like change some words, or you want to actually use this and some terms that you want to implement to your contract. Like right now, let's say you don't have a new term that talks about related to the pandemic, and you can go over this article and maybe use some of this, or maybe like at least bring up to your knowledge what you can do, right? Because at the end of the day, it's your decision. It's what you're gonna be presenting to your parents, and maybe there's things that you would like to put on and maybe not, right? But this is a great article that you can read, right? And also I invite you to actually sign up to this to his website. It's free. Usually you get an email with this with a new article like pretty much every day, and anything related to family childcare business. Okay. Um, and like I said before, remember, you are free to decide what language to use in your own contract. Okay. I don't know if we have, I think we have like a few minutes. If we have some providers that would like to share, maybe you already added something to your contract related to the pandemic, and 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 some questions came up when you were presenting to the parent, and you were able to have the parent sign it. Maybe you can share, and if we have a provider who would like to raise their hand and maybe share something related, a new term that you have added due to the pandemic. I don't know if we have anyone like typing in the chat box, or
Yeah, Simon, and can I just make one thing clear too? Like we are not we're not, attorneys by any means. So, if you have something that you kind of, are using, like Simon mentioned earlier, that you can come up with whatever you need, or whatever pieces that need to go into your contract that will protect you. That's great. I just want to put that out there because we're not like licensed attorneys. So if you have a question like, can I put this or not, whatever language you feel that's related to time and money, almost like the example that's on the screen that says, in case of a public health emergency, I reserve the right to charge full or partial tuition, something like that, that's related to time and money. Feel free to add into your as a pandemic policy, because I do see a lot of questions in the chat related to COVID. And so I just want to put out there that we're not licensed attorneys to kind of say, yes, that's worded correctly or not. But you should definitely, this has really opened up our eyes that we should have some terminology in our contracts to protect us in this time. So just putting that out there. But if anyone, like Simon mentioned, if you've added COVID related or pandemic or any type of public health emergency contract terms, feel free to throw them in the chat, or raise your hand and we can probably talk about it real quick.
Yes, thank you, Joel, for saying that, and letting providers know how this can be handled. And it will be very important for us, and even for the providers here, if someone has added a new term related to COVID, so we know what's like the experience with parents, right? Like we haven't heard this, and this is actually the right, this is like the opportunity for us to actually learn from providers what they have been using or what they have added. And I see someone is saying, like, now is the right time to add things in your contract about COVID, right? Like we didn't think something like this it was going to happen. and now, like, this is like the time to actually start adding new terms to your contract, and again have it signed with your parents. Well, we can move on. We're gonna have a
excuse me, Simon, maybe
yes.
I can since we don't have anyone sharing about COVID, maybe we can touch on some ideas, because many participants are asking about this. So the main concern with COVID for most of you is payment, right? So how do I ensure that parents are paying me if I'm forced to close? So one of the clauses that you may add, first is that you need to think about what works best for you. And one of the clauses that you may add to your contract is, for example, something like that says, my program may be forced to close temporarily due to a health emergency. And in the event this happens, I will be doing so following the government or state or local guidelines. And in that event, I will charge the following. And then you have to list what your charge is going to be during a pandemic or during a health emergency. And you can say, I will be charging the full amount, I will be charging 50%, I will be giving you a 25%, or I won't be charging. So this is totally your choice. You need to determine how that works best for you. But definitely now we have learned that we need to include something about a pandemic or any forceful closure that we might have. So that's something that will protect you. If you make any changes, remember that you need to go back to the parents and ask them to sign the revised contract. Also, another thing that you might want to do, include a clause for the parents who have not paid in advance. Some of the educators have the issue that parents didn't pay in advance. So it will be a good idea to include in your contract something along the lines that for parents who didn't pay in advance, I will require, again, full payment, half payment, 25% of the payment, or whatever you decide. But it's important for you to also add that to the contract. So these are two ideas that should protect you and cover the expenses related. If you have any other, please, you can use the chat to ask us if you have any other specific concern about a clause that you would like to see covered in your contract.
Great, thank you, Rosemary, for that explanation. I don't know if we have any other providers who would like to share at the moment. I don't think we see any providers with that they have raised their hand, right? Oh, actually, we have one.
We have Caroline. So let me see. Let's try it this time.
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. This is
Yes,
Carolyn.
we can hear you.
Great.
Yes.
A lot of the providers that I've been talking with they just really want to have that strong language, safety considerations with their families. People are coming into their homes, what is allowed, what is not allowed. Not only the financial aspect, but also how to have an agreement in respecting to the important safety considerations of having others come into one's family childcare home.
So
I
I'll
guess,
add. Oh,
I
go
know
ahead.
that's a lot for the end of this. I just wonder if maybe we could somehow create something with that COVID specific issues that so many are concerned about.
I can answer that, Simon and Joel.
Sure.
Yeah, so we need to be, definitely this should be addressed. You are exactly, on point on this. However, we just would like to be clear about how it goes to the contract and what goes to the policy handbook. So I would encourage all of you to include any protective measures in the policy handbook. So whatever policies you think are right for your program, what you feel will make you feel safer. If you want to include part of the guidelines that are being provided by you, the local office, the local government offices, you can do so. It's and you can always mention in the contract that your program is following the guidelines established in your handbook. So you are included all these procedures by reference, but and in that way you don't need to spell it out, because if you start doing that, you will end up with a contract that is very lengthy and parents will have really a lot of trouble understanding that. So, but that's why you have this wonderful tool, that's the parents or family, the policy handbook, in which you can just flesh out all these concerns that you have. I don't know if this answers your.
So include them in the handbook and then refer to it in the contract.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you include everything that you policies, you include in the contract by reference. You don't have to spell it out.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary, for that explanation. Actually, thank you, Caroline, for bringing that up. I think we can move on, right? We still have time. Okay, so this is just like a way for like a strategy for you and to communicate with your contract to your parents, right? Like a contract, like we have said from the beginning, is a tool that you use to communicate with your parents, and it's very important that you go over your contract with the parents or one parent, so they understand every point in your contract, every term, so there's no questions left out, right? You don't want to give a contract and have the parent go home with the contract, sign it, and come back and they never read your contract. So it's very important that you go over the contract with the parents side by side, because if they come up later saying, oh, you didn't explain me this clearly, I mean, you will know that you went over that particular term with the parent when you had the time to sit down with them and explain your contract and all of the terms. And especially now that there's confusion, right? There's confusion about the pandemic, how you're going to communicate it, what you're going to put, or maybe the parent, they can misunderstand a closure, and they think, oh no, but this is what I understood, but you explain them the proper way, and how, by going over the contract from day one. And again, if you have a new term that you're gonna add on to the contract, it's time to revisit the contract, add it, and have it sign it. Correct? Have it sign it. Also, review your contract yearly or whenever you make a new change, and that's what we've been talking all this time, right? It's good to go over the contract every year. Why? Because there could be a new term that you want to add on, or maybe you want to increase your fees, right? And by that we mean you don't have to increase like $30 more a week or so, or double the price on the late fees. You can make little adjustments. We recommend you to go over the contract every year, or even whenever you need to make a change. It doesn't have to be about money. It just has to be about a new term added to the contract, and you have the parents sign it. It's very important. Like, also, use only the contract terms that you are willing to enforce. What does that mean? So let's say you want to add the deposit, right? You want to add the deposit term to your contract now, but you have a new parent that has signed up, and you're not telling them, and the parent will probably tell you, oh, I don't have the money to pay you for the deposit, and you just like let it go, right? Maybe you can find a way to charge the parent. You give them like your reasons why you are charging the deposit, right? You can work it out, but always put a term on your contract that you're going to follow and that you're going to enforce, right? Because as the parent's going to see that, is going to see that you're not enforcing your terms, so they're not going to follow some of your contracts. And it can happen, like, it can feel uncomfortable sometimes, right? Like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. The parent's going to come back and tell me no. But like we have heard from providers that actually you can practice with a family member how to say it, right? How to bring it up to the parent, and then it will become like normal, the way you explain it to the parent, because it can be very uncomfortable, right? Talking about money is very uncomfortable, and bringing a certain amount of like different terms that has to do with money, it can get like complicated sometimes. So we understand that. Also, think ahead of time whether you're willing to compromise on any term. So what we're saying compromise is like if you're gonna let go, let's say you have a contract about a parent paying a late fee, and then you're gonna waive that late fee because this parent is the first time. Yes, you can do that, right? Maybe you want to do that 1, 2 times, but then you don't want the parent to keep doing this, like not paying you for something that you are expected to get paid. So there's language that you can add on your contract, right? That you can say, because I'm waiving this fee doesn't mean that I'm going to waive all the fees all the time. Think ahead of that. Think ahead how you're going to like handle that situation. Joe, let's go to the next slide. And here we have a video from providers that they're talking about how a contract it's how they're handling the contract in their business and how they communicate in the contract to their parents. Let's see if we can share the video and everyone can hear it.
Yeah, Simon, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound okay? I just want to confirm.
Okay.
All right.
El contrato te da mucha formalidad como profesional y educador. Y yo recomiendo siempre que se trabaje con ese contrato, porque el contrato, como bien todos lo saben, es un acuerdo entre padre y proveedor. Eso significa que lo que tú no acordaste con él bajo firma, es imposible tú decirle. Entonces, son las cosas que te pertenecen a ti como proveedora, son las cosas que le competen a él como padre y las cosas que te protegen para tu negocio. Entonces es súper importante lo que es el contrato. Ahí tú puedes entrar lo que son tus vacaciones, que nosotras como proveedoras algunas veces nos agotamos mucho trabajando y necesitamos nuestras vacaciones. Pero si desde el principio tú no la pones dentro de tu contrato y la explica antes, porque yo no sé, yo diría lo que me funciona, ¿verdad? Pero a mí me ha funcionado siempre no solamente decirle a un papá, fírmeme ese contrato, sino explicarle cuáles son nuestras pólizas en medida de nuestros puntos. Entonces esa persona, si está de acuerdo, firma el contrato. Entonces cuando tú expones, por ejemplo, tus vacaciones, tu holiday, special holiday, ellos nunca van a tener un problema contigo, ni nunca van a tener, no te van a decir nada, porque tú solo expusiste desde el principio y ellos sabían lo que estaban firmando. Igualmente, por ejemplo, cuando hay snow day, día de nieve, o cuando los niños están enfermos o algo, no es tu culpa que los niños lleguen enfermos, no es tu culpa que haya un snow time, ¿no? Un tiempo de nieve. O sea, si eso pasó, la escuela no se para, nosotros estamos aquí para recibir al niño. Entonces, es bueno uno insertarle todo eso dentro del contrato de que de toda manera hay que hacer el pago total, que no es la culpa nuestra. Y también con el depósito, por ejemplo, en el caso mío, siempre yo exijo una semana de depósito, entonces yo lo plasmo dentro del contrato. Y todos esos acuerdos son necesarios que estén dentro del contrato, porque hay cosas de ahí que si tú no la expusiste de manera específica, yo recomiendo hacerlo de manera específica, no de manera general, porque algunas veces las cosas que no están específicas pues se pueden entender de manera diferente. Pero si lo hace de manera específica, yo creo que es una forma muy, muy buena y que nos ayuda bastante.
Great. I hope this this video has helped many of you, how to communicate the contract to your parents and how to handle this situation. We're gonna go over the summary. So we have talked about the importance of the contract and how the contract is related to time and money. And also we make the difference between where certain policies you need to put in a contract and where you need to put them on a policy handbook or a parent handbook, right? Anything related to probably health and safety, you want to put it on your parent handbook or your policy handbook. And also you can refer back what Rosemary was telling us before. You can refer back to the contract, you know, put in a term telling the parent you have read the policy handbook and you have agreed to our terms, and they can sign it. They can sign it on your contract. And again, we've been saying so many things about how important a contract is to have in your business. You know, even if you don't have one right now, you can start by creating at the moment. You know, right at this moment, right? You can come up with a contract, and then present it to your parents. You know, maybe they already have, the parents already following like certain terms, but you don't have it in writing, right? And you can start doing that now. There's no there's no, like, because you didn't show it at the beginning, or you don't have the parent sign at the beginning, doesn't mean they won't sign it later on. Okay, so it's important for you to have a contract always. And again, I know sometimes talking about the contract to parents, it can be a difficult situation, right? It can be uncomfortable. Again, practice. Usually we have coached some providers, and they feel uncomfortable with certain terms that they want to implement. Like they know that if they add this term to the contract, it's going to help their business, but they don't feel comfortable of actually talking to the parent about this. You know, practice with someone else. You know, practice how you're gonna say it to the parent, how you're gonna present it, right? So it becomes more natural, right? And you feel more confident in this situation. Again, it's important to have many closures or all these terms that we've been going over in your contracts, right? Names of all parties, signature, price, anything related to time and money, right? Anything related to time, money has to go in your contract, and you want to have disclosures in there. And last, we went over about the regular fees, the overtime fees, right? The late fee, how important that is. Also list the hours of care, and also it's important to put the payment method that you are going to be taking from the parent, right? You're going to be taking cash or check, or using some electronic app to transfer money. You know, you want to list all of that. Again, anything related to time and money, as you can see, like anything that it has to be part of time, it's like it's in there with money, right? If they come late, you charge a fee. If they drop off the child early, you want to charge a fee. If they don't come, you know, like you're already charging them, you know. And there are different situations, how different terms that you can have to cover all of these aspects. So we can move to the next slide. So we would like to hear from you. We have a survey. We have a few minutes. So we're going to drop the link on the chat, here in the chat. And please, if you can, I'm going to drop the survey here. And please take a few minutes. Thank you, Joel. So just click here in the survey and the link, and just complete the survey for us, because we want to know from you. We want to hear your feedback. And again, if you need help creating a contract, right? Or maybe you need help adding a new term to the contract, you can reach out to the closest All-Our-Kin site, right? We are located in Stanford, in Bridgeport, New Haven, also in the Bronx, right? And we can help you out. You know, reach out. Maybe you're not part of the All-Our-Kin network, and this is a time to be part of this network, and you can get to know more providers. You get to know what they're doing, what is working for them, and all of those things. Okay. While we wait for people to actually fill out the survey, I think Rosemary, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just adding to the summary that you provided, Simon, I think that the main tasks we have right now ahead of us in light of the COVID emergency is, first we need to think about what policies we want to change in our program, include those in the policy handbook, and then move on to change the clauses regarding payment in a health emergency, and add whatever we change in our policy handbook by reference. There's another question that I just got, and it says it's related to can I deny care to a child? So, and this is something that many of you are facing. First, you have to review what your policies say, and as long as you don't go against any anti-discrimination laws, federal or state, you should be fine. Refusing to care for a child for COVID is not against the law. You can do so. Just make sure that you follow the right procedure to that. Yeah, and I think that's that ends the summary.
Great, thank you, Rosemary. And also, I just want to remind you that we're going to be hosting another webinar in the next month, and we're going to be talking about risk management plan for family childcare business. We're going to be sending out another email. And also, if you want to be part of the All Our King Network, or you want to know more about us, you can go on our website and you can sign up on our newsletter. Because we usually send out a newsletter with a lot of information, a lot of resources, updates, and you're welcome to go to our website, allourkin.org, and you can sign up to the newsletter. Again, thank you everyone for making it today. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you all the providers, and we appreciate your hard work.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.